I don't know. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Latasha. If you're new here, I'm a full-time freelance social media manager, digital content creator, and coach. That's really it. And podcast host and YouTuber. I do a lot of things, as a lot of freelancers do, but my main focus is social media and digital marketing. Let's just say it that way, okay? So anyway, I asked you guys on the YouTube community tab to ask me questions about social media management, and here comes a video. So I'm gonna get right into these answers, but before we do that, I wanna let you know about a little freebie that I have for you all or anyone who's interested. So if you are interested in becoming a social media manager, whether freelance or in-house somewhere, I actually created a 10-step guide. It's totally free, no strings. Just go ahead and click on the link in the description box. I'll put it up here on the screen too. But it's just a PDF download, a guide with, like I said, the 10 steps that I really took to get started. So go ahead and download that if you're interested. Let's get into the questions. How to build trust as a newbie freelancer. So I feel like this is kind of layered. I mean, all of these questions are a little bit layered. So let's just get that disclosure out of the way. But I think, one thing is giving away value before you approach the client, or, once you approach the client, making sure to give them value. I don't want to walk up to a client and just be like, hey, hire me. And they're like, why? Who are you? And what have you done for us? And what stake do you have in my business to make you actually care about it, to be able to market it effectively? I don't want to make the mistake of saying that everything valuable is free either, because I think that can have a negative connotation. So I'm not saying you need to give away all this free stuff, free gift cards, free swag, free website audits, free. You don't have to do all that, but just make sure that when you're speaking to them, you're giving them little tips here and there, or you're actually showing an interest and taking an interest in their company and their values and what they stand for and what they do in the marketplace. Because you could easily have just been walking down the street and hitting every single business. They want to know why you're selecting them. Just like, when you're applying for a job, why are you applying for this job? They always ask you that. So I think that's one, but also another thing that's just more general and that you can probably get started with right now is you should have testimonials and case studies or be working on getting those things, because those things give you trust before you even meet the client. I mean, I know I've had clients who come to me and specifically say, yeah, I love that you had many testimonials displayed, varied testimonials from different services and different projects that you've done. So make sure that if you have any clients who are happy right now and you're at the point where it seems like it might be appropriate to ask for those kinds of things, that you do. Hi there, I present my clients with the artwork, social media schedule, and the hashtags used in advance, so everything's signed off before I post. I don't have that many that I manage at the moment. Is this something you do? How do you present content, copy to clients before posting, or do they give you all the artwork and you simply post? So it varies. For me and my clients and the work that I've done in the past, currently, in the future, it varies. Some clients do have images that they like to use, and they have an in-house design team, or they have graphics that they've contracted out or something, photos that they've contracted out, whatever, and I'm happy to use those. It makes my job easier to some extent. But I also work with clients who have nothing, and I've actually become really, really passionate about content creation and doing video work and flat lay photography and things like that. So a little bit of both. Obviously, I price differently. If I have to create content, if I have to make videos and take photos, I have to charge for that. Now, how do I present the content calendars, I think is what this person's asking, to the client. So there's a few different ways. My tried and true way, this is kind of my old faithful, is I just use a Google Drive doc. And that's pretty much it. I just share the Excel doc, sorry, not a doc, a Google, wait, what is it called? Google Sheets. It's Excel, basically. I just, create a spreadsheet with post copy, image, link, and then I share with them. Now, I don't do this every month though. And I think I was actually talking to one of my clients, or maybe it was one of my patrons on Patreon. I can't remember who it was, but I was talking to somebody recently. I was like, don't get in the habit, if you can help it, of doing this every month. Now, some clients are going to ask to approve and sign off on every single content calendar. I get that. But usually they'll be happy with 1 month. They want to just make sure that you're getting the tone and voice right, that you're getting their branding right, their look and feel right. And then after that, they're kind of good to just let you do your thing. And that's how I typically work with clients because it just eliminates a lot of back and forth. Now, again, there are some clients, especially if they're in maybe sensitive industries or have like legal trouble or something like that, that might want to approve on things. But I don't think, if you can help it, you don't want to get into that habit because it'll just save you and the client a lot of back and forth time. Would love to know how you stay productive while working from home. I actually am going to make a full video on this, and I might actually have a video already on this. So I might remake a video on this. I think it definitely is needed, especially as these fall and winter months come around for a lot of us here in the US and around the world that are experiencing fall and winter. But a couple of quick tips. I think blocking my calendar. I'm also going to do a video on that too, on blocking. I promise you guys, I promise. I have a document ready. I'm putting these on my schedule. But blocking my calendar helps me a lot. Also getting outside, like leaving your house. I do try to force myself to leave my house a little bit more in the winter and fall months because it gets so dark early. It's so cold. All I want to do is sit on my couch. That's another tip. Don't work on the couch. Don't work in bed. If it's the weekend and I'm doing work, I'll work in bed. I think that's allowed on the weekends. But during the work week, I try really hard to get up, sit at my desk, or stand somewhere or go outside, go to a coffee shop. You don't want to get in the habit of just being comfy cozy all the time because you won't leave your couch and you'll feel groggy all day. That's how I feel at least. And I'm just not as productive. Would love to know more about sponsored videos, how to charge and when to reject or accept offers. So I did a whole video all about sponsorships that might help you out. I'm gonna link that down below. How to charge, I think I mentioned it in that video, but just in case I didn't, Social Blue Book is a really great tool to at least give you a baseline. You can plug in your social media info and they'll give you a recommended number to charge. So I don't use that exact number. I'll cater it to the company and the style of video and how I'm feeling that day, whatever, how interested I am in the product or service, but it should give you a good baseline. Is it just me or is it harder to grow a social media account for a new clothing brand? I don't think I've ever actually worked with a clothing. Actually, I've worked with kind of, but it was a little different. It was like medical apparel. Yeah, but I think in general, growing a new account is hard, especially if you don't have advertising budget or an influencer marketing budget or some help. Now, I'm not saying that organic is dead. I don't believe that organic social media is dead personally. Content matters, content has impact, but it moves a lot further, and not just further, but targets the right people if you have some type of a paid strategy that's working in addition to your organic strategy. So my question for you is, are you doing ads or are you just doing organic posts? If you're just doing organic posts, it is an uphill climb to build something up from zero. Now, with that said, there's also a caveat to that is I don't recommend people to just run ads, like they start at zero and they just start running all these ads and trying to build up a brand that way. I think it's important to build organically in conjunction with advertising because you want to get an idea of who's organically gravitating towards your content and, it just works better that way, in my opinion. So that's kind of a little tip for that. But yes, I agree. It's hard to build something from scratch. What to say in an email to a brand or company to get a client on their PR list or a sponsorship. So I'm guessing they have like a YouTuber or Instagrammer client. Yeah, that's a good question. I would just say something along the lines of, hey, I'm representing XYZ, send along their media kit. If you don't have a media kit for them, for your client yet, definitely create one. You can easily do that in Canva or, Photoshop or whatever. Just break out some of their stats, how many followers they have, what their demographic of their audiences, what kind of type of content they create, some samples of the content that they create, send it over and just say, we're open to any potential collaboration opportunities, sponsorship, PR lists, etc. It's typically a pretty standard process and they'll know what to do with it. I have a client that takes forever to respond, but all her reviews from customers rave about her communication. Do you give potential clients deadlines to respond? I never thought this would be an issue, but I need another client to pay the bills. So I feel like it's been that time of year for me personally. I've had a lot of weird lags in communication lately. So I don't know if that's just something that we're all dealing with or if we're just the unlucky ones, but I feel you. I don't have deadlines for clients to respond. I mean, I have due dates for invoices, if that's what you're asking. If they're not paying you, then that's definitely an issue. I use Wave for my invoicing, and you can set a due date with that tool, and you can even send reminders via email if they're late on payments. So if you don't have a system like that set up, I definitely recommend doing it. I also write it into my contracts when I do sign with a client. I say, this is when your invoice is going to be due every month. This is when it's going to be sent, and then this is when it's going to be due, and then this is when it's considered late. I usually give them a few day grace period before it's officially late, and I add a late fee to it. So yes, I guess when it comes to payment, I do have deadlines for communication, but if I just have a question about something, no. I mean, it's challenging because sometimes if there's a holdup, like, if you've completed your work and you need their help to move on to step B, or you need approval for something, that can be challenging. And maybe that's something I should do in the future, specifically regarding approval and stuff. When I do have detailed video clients, which is kind of different than social media management, it's very different than social media management, but if you don't know, I went to school for video. I do video work as well. When I have like a big video project, I break out a schedule and I say, week 1, I'm gonna research, week 2, I'm gonna shoot, week 3, I'm gonna edit, and then I'm gonna give you a week to review it. I need your revisions by end of week Friday or end of day Friday. Then I'm gonna go ahead and do the I break it out that way, but I don't do that for social media clients because typically they're not giving me that many revisions and stuff. Which platform do you feel is most underutilized and shouldn't be overlooked? So I say across the board, LinkedIn. I think a lot of people are getting on LinkedIn now, but I think pretty much any professional should be on LinkedIn. I think it used to be, okay, certain industries could do really well by being on LinkedIn, or obviously if you're a job seeker, you should be on LinkedIn. But now I think pretty much everybody, like anybody who works, should be on LinkedIn. And another one is, of course, TikTok is becoming a thing. I kind of fought it. I'm still fighting it, but I have it downloaded on my phone. I had it downloaded on my phone for a long time. But I do need to do a little bit of research on it just so I'm aware. I don't plan on necessarily making TikTok videos or, encouraging my clients to make TikTok videos, but I think it's important to be in the know. Hi, what do you think marketing agencies will move towards in 2020? Growth hacking has very much come to an end on IG, so most are moving towards paid. Do you think agencies will just become advertising agencies? So I talked a little bit about paid in a couple questions ago. I don't want to say that like you have to do nothing but paid and become a full-on advertising agency. I don't want to say that, and I don't know, frankly. I don't know. I can only give my opinion. But I do think that paid is important. I'm passionate about paid media for a lot of reasons. Just, again, not just because it gets you more views and clicks and engagement on your content, but it gets you to the right people. You can build out your target audience and send your content to them instead of having to kind of like wade through everybody else. That said, organic is still very valuable. So I don't know. That's my answer. I think paid advertising is an important part of the strategy, but I also think without the right content, you can't run successful ads either. I've seen huge budgets and ads still not perform because the creative wasn't on point and it wasn't well thought out. So I think it needs to be a little bit of both. This may require more of a deeper dive or its own episode, but could you talk about how you organize your client work with Asana? And also, what type of clients do you work from? What industries? How big is the business? How many followers on IGFB do they typically have? Wow, that's a deep question. Okay, so first thing, yes, I also have this on my list of videos to shoot, is I do want to talk to you guys about how I use Asana. Leave me a thumbs up if that would be helpful for you. Clients do I work with? So I have two sides of my business, as a lot of you guys know. I work with solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, and I do primarily coaching and consulting with them, but I also sometimes a coaching package will lead into, hey, can you edit my videos for me? Can you edit my podcast for me? Can you help me out with social graphics, that kind of thing? So I do have that side. And then the other side, I'm typically working with startups, and they're usually established/funded startups primarily. Now, I'm not limiting myself. This is just what they tend to be. I'm actually open and I want to work with other industries. I'm like at that point where I'm ready to kind of spread my wings, but they typically are funded startups. I don't know why I can't say that word, funded startups, meaning that they have some investments, they have some capital, but they really are not there yet with content and branding and social strategy, of course. And then I also work with some corporate companies that are much bigger and they're looking for more like strategy work or training on building up their employer brand and things like that. So it's a little bit of a mix, to be honest with you, but it's mostly startups, mostly tech. Oh my gosh, I've already been talking for 18 minutes. So let's see. I'm gonna try to get through these all and just make it a long video. If you're watching right now though, make sure to thumbs up the video if this has been helpful so far and subscribe to my channel. It does help me out a lot. I'm saying that before people drop off because this is gonna be a super long video. Okay, next question. The best strategy to take when you want to freelance but have a full-time job. So I'm pretty sure I have resources on this already. I definitely talked about it in episode 1 of my podcast, the Freelance Friday podcast. I'll leave that down below, but use your time. You have a lot of time in the day. It doesn't seem like it, but especially if you're somebody who doesn't have children or a ton, you're not caring for like an elderly parent or something. I was in that position when I started my side hustle, and when I really sat back and thought about it, I had a lot of free time. I had the time before I went to work in the morning that I started to just get up 30 minutes or 60 minutes early every day. And that's an hour to work on your business, which coming home and doing an hour of work after working an entire 8 or 9 hour day seems like so stressful. So that was one thing I did, was started getting up early, using that morning time, using that evening time. I would always have my wind down time. I'd eat my dinner as soon as I got home, watch a program or catch up with my boyfriend or whatever. And then I would hop into work using your commute. I talked about this in the podcast episode, using your commute and things like that. So I'll leave that down below because I talked about some more strategies down there. What's the general priority of things when starting out between getting first client, making a portfolio website, getting business cards, making a business name, logo, etc.? To be honest, I don't know that there's a perfect order. And I think I could say my perfect order, and I think the next social media manager would say a different thing, and the next one would say a different thing. I think at the end of the day, and this is kind of how I run my business in general, I operate on sort of a profit first model or a revenue first model, meaning do what's making you money first. Business cards are sometimes needed. If you have an event coming up, if you know that you're gonna go to a big conference next week, yes, then get the business cards. If you might not be going to any big networking events for like 6 months, then I would prioritize getting a client first. I think making a website and portfolio is pretty up there because you're probably not gonna get a client until you have some type of social proof via a portfolio or a way to contact you. So I would say number 1 is probably website, but sometimes clients just happen, I had a website when I got my first client, but it wasn't really like a social media manager website. It was like a YouTuber website. And so it just happened. So there is no perfect order. Do what makes sense, but I guess I would say prioritize having a home base, a website, and a portfolio. Business name and logo, for me, I didn't start my business until 2 years ago. I think it was maybe 3 years ago now, I don't know. But I have a business called James and Park. I didn't actually start that LLC until then. Before that, I was working as a sole proprietor as Latasha James. So I almost recommend that strategy because if I would have chosen a business name when I first started freelancing, when I was a junior or sophomore in college, it would have been weird. It would have been something really weird. Personally, like your mind changes. You learn about your business as you start taking clients and things. So you can be a sole proprietor if you're comfortable with that. And I don't think you need to worry about like the name on day 1. I'm wondering, what are your base expenses for each month just to operate your business? You don't have to tell us the company names of the tools you use, but for example, I made a list below of some things off the top of my head. You guys, let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see a video on everything I spend on my business. I don't know if I'm super comfortable doing that, but let me know. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see. I know like one of the big things that I spend money on is Squarespace. I host my websites through Squarespace. So I do have a personal website and I do have a business website. So latashajames.com and jamesandpark.com. So I have, hosting fees and recurring things, email addresses associated with that. So that's an ongoing thing. I use Loomly, which is a social media management tool, and then a ton of other like education, course hosting software, things for podcasts, videos. I could go on. Hey, I'm from India, and in India, the digital marketing rates are very low. For reference, I am freelance social media manager since last year. I have a client who's the biggest educational institute in my city, sorry, my nose is itchy, and is paying me $7 a post. I do all the copywriting, graphic design, and $50 a month for managing all the social profiles. Do you think this is a fair price? I'm thinking of working as an outsourcing agent for other agency or freelancers in other countries. How can I do this? Sorry, I got out of breath. So I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I don't know anything about rates in India. I don't know anything about rates in Chicago or LA or Boise, Idaho. Like, I only know average rates or whatever for my location personally. And I mean, I guess I have a little bit more knowledge about some of the other American cities, but my recommendation for anybody, whether you're in India, whether you're in Louisville, Kentucky, I don't know, I'm saying random city names now, but look on websites, look on Glassdoor, look on LinkedIn, other social media managers in your area's websites. Don't though, please don't do this, because I get this like at least once a week, and you guys, it drives me crazy. Don't pretend to be a client in order to get research. I get that all the time. I get people filling out forms and asking me how much services cost, only to find out that they're another social media manager trying to base their pricing off of mine. It's very frustrating, so please don't do that. But look at what their public-facing information shows and just get a good idea from doing research. I wish I had a better answer, but it really varies for every city, every state, every location, every country for sure. So just do some research. Like I said, Glassdoor and LinkedIn, and there's another one, PayScale is another one. Those will give you full-time pricing, but that should at least give you an idea. I can look up the average social media manager salary in Detroit, and it'll give me a number, and then I can kind of break that up and factor in taxes and self-employment taxes and health insurance and all that stuff, and come up with an average freelance rate for the most part. So I hope that helps. Hey, I just got my first job as a social media manager. I don't have any experience and I'm working from home. What are the tips you can give me to help improve my skills and give my clients the best? So take courses, take classes, research, learn, commit to learning every day. Put it on your calendar. I actually started doing this recently because I've been not slow, bad slow. I've been at a consistent normal rate. A few months ago, I was so busy, it was out of control. Now I'm at a steady rate with my client work. And so I'm finding myself with some free time. So I actually put on my calendar from 8 to 9 every morning, learn. So I'll hop on a webinar, I'll read an ebook, I'll read a real book, I'll do something to invest in myself. I also think that courses and coaching is something that I wish I did sooner. I did not invest in my first course for a while. It was a couple years into side hustling, and I wish I would have done it sooner because I really could have scaled a lot faster. Same thing for a coach. I didn't invest in a coach until a few years into my business. And yes, you can Google what's in a course. You can. People ask me that all the time about my course. They're like, well, can't I just Google the information? Yeah, you can. But it's going to take you 20 hours, whereas I just put everything nicely packaged, sorted through all the BS that you don't need, and also offer support. And I'm not selling my thing. I'm not saying I'm the course you need to take or I'm the coach you need. Look for people who resonate with me. If I don't speak to you, somebody else might. But I think it's something that I wish I would have invested in sooner, and they can really help you nail down the skills that you really need. But like I said, there's tons of other resources that you can do self-guided learning on too. I love the HubSpot inbound, or what are they called? HubSpot Academy courses as well. Those are all free. So that's a good place to start. And yeah, I think those are my tips. How to set up and grow your YouTube channel. Should you already have a certain amount of videos recorded before you start? How many videos should you put out per week? When should you post? So I don't know. I think if you have a couple videos to start, that doesn't hurt, because if somebody sees your intro video and they decide, hey, I like this person, I want to binge watch their videos, they at least have a few things to watch. So yeah, it doesn't hurt to have, a handful of videos to start with. How many videos should you put out per week? I don't think I'm the person to ask, to be honest. I don't know what I'm doing with my YouTube. If my clients ask me, I say consistency is what I tell them. Consistency over everything. If it's once a month and that's what you can commit to, doing a high quality, polished video every month, then do it once a month. If you can commit to that once a week, even better. I think to start, I would probably recommend like once or twice a week max for a couple of reasons. One, you're probably gonna change up your style. You're gonna grow over time. And I think you're still learning, so you don't wanna put that pressure on yourself. That's what I would recommend. I think a couple times a week max. But again, it doesn't have to be. If you're rushing to get those couple videos out every week, slow down and do it once every other week or once every month until you get it down, and then you can kind of increase your posting. When should you post? Again, I'm not the person to ask. You know, I asked my audience. This is something that I did on the YouTube community tab recently. I said, hey, when do you guys typically watch YouTube videos? Because I was noticing that I was uploading a lot on the weekends, and people answered me, and I've kind of been trying to go by what they said, but I also noticed when I did that, the views were really low. So I don't know. I think you have to, you know, listen to your audience, but also just look at data and analyze data. I also use my Instagram insights to see when my Instagram followers are online, because typically if I'm talking about something in an Instagram story, they go over from there. So everything kind of works together. So analyze, ask questions, test. It's different for everybody, is long story short. It's totally different for everybody, depending on your niche, depending on your audience demographics, all that stuff. Last question. I'm not sure I fully understand the question. It says, please discuss what you think the limitations of influencer marketing are. Let me know in the comments if I'm answering your question or if I'm not answering your question, but I think that it's not everything for a strategy. You can't put all of your eggs into any basket. Just like I talked about with paid media, same thing for organic. You can't just put 1,000 into influencer marketing and ignore your content strategy, ignore paid ads, ignore whatever. So I think that's kind of a limitation. I also think that, you know, we're sort of coming upon this time where it's sort of old news now, and it's not like a cool new advertising format anymore. It's now basically just a celebrity endorsement, or it's like a magazine ad now. And I think that, like with any advertising format, you start to see people automatically ignore it. And I see who was I with? I was with my niece, and she was watching something on YouTube, and she just was like, oh my gosh, is the ad gonna be over? And she was trying to click out of the video, even though she really wanted to see this unicorn cake being baked. And it's interesting because especially the younger generation, they are keen on an ad. And I think that the same is gonna be done for influencer marketing. I do it when I start to see somebody who's like, okay, thanks to the sponsor, blah, 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 I love this so much. I don't always tune it out because sometimes it's valuable, and I understand, especially as a creator, like that doesn't mean that it's fake or false, but I do start to like listen with a grain of salt, if you will. Like I don't listen the same way I would listen to somebody who's talking about something organically. And so I guess that's a limitation as well, is have we reached peak influencer marketing? Like, have influencers lost their relatability? Have influencers lost their true effect? I mean, I definitely think we're past the golden day of influencer marketing, if you ask me, but maybe not. I don't know. So I hope that answered your question. I think this maybe is a longer discussion, so let me know in the comments if you have anything to add to that. All right, thanks for sitting through this one with me. It's like a bunch of storms, so sorry the lighting changed 10 million times throughout this video, but I hope you enjoyed it. Please thumbs up, comment down below, you guys, let me know what you thought of the video. And again, I do have that free guide for any of you who are interested in becoming a social media manager. Whether you're looking to become a freelancer, a business owner, or an in-house social media manager, you'll definitely want to check out this free guide. I'm gonna link it down in the description box, and I will talk to you very soon in my next video. Thanks for watching. Oh my gosh, it's so dark. I didn't realize that happened. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys.